We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Yeah, this is administration douchebag calling for the president of the United States to speak to Mr. Xi, president of China, immediately. Oh, please hold. Don't you dare put me on hold. Do you know who this is? Yes, we do. Now, enjoy the lyrical stylings of the Obama Milli remix. You have a nice day. Chin chin.
Obama, going in. Call him president, he's the next new president. Here, senator from Illinois. Yeah, his criteria compared to John McCain isn't fair, cause he's BLAC, so the eyes are on E. Through his pencil, he write legislation with the country on his mind, and he don't coach, cause he ain't got time every second, minute, hour. KKK wanna devour, he got guards ready.
It seems like the most people that want the shake up and voted for the shake up. And don't get me wrong, I hope that the Chinese are putting homeboy on red, because that's the ultimate form of disrespect. The Barbs and Nicki Minaj, y'all had one there. And when you ignore a bully or someone that craves or deserves or think they deserve or desires attention, when you ignore them and then you play the bane of their existence, yeah. And I think it's apropos that we do a remix of Milli, because we know Chump pardoned Lil Wayne, and he has been one of his supporters. That's like making some remix of a Kanye song on behalf of Obama, even though, and we know that this dude has a heart on for a black man that he can't even carry his coat. That's the thing. That's why he's going so hard to tear down everything that he did for trashing the economy the first time he was in the bitch, and then basically dismantling Obamacare, not affecting people like me that look like me, but mostly his constituency and his MAGA idiots. So, girl, and the Barbs that he is going back, slap fight he having with old Muskrat, it's all a diversion. Why I say this, because even though I got fed up with the New York Times. I still get the LA Times. And I still follow Gavin Newsom. They doing all this trickery and harassing people and reversing policy and trying to blame it on immigrants. They actually wilding out in California. Wouldn't call up the National Guard on January 6, 2020, but you trying to call up the National Guard because of your illegal ICE raids? Okay, bro. Okay. This is what, anytime that we got the shenanigans, and oh, yes, I'm completely enjoying the Barbs and the Muskrats and the Jeffrey Epsteins, and y'all cheated on the last election of it all. But I also knew that that was, again, a diversion from what the bullshit y'all actually trying to do. All of it's going to come to light, and you basically don't think the Letitia James and everybody ain't taking notes and gathering evidence. Yeah, bro, we all doing that. Because it's only when it's out of your hands that we know that we are getting ready and gearing up for the biggest insider trading if people could just hold on. And the investors are getting ready to revolt because they're getting ready to run Muskrat's pockets. We also know that your khaki-wearing majority, like homeboy Murphy from North Carolina and this HR 3518 bullshit, you know you basically you forgetting about the Constitution and equality that's attached to everybody for the Bill of Rights, but you're getting ready to do all these reversals, and y'all don't realize how expensive racism is. And again, I am a product of black boomers who, granted, a lot of them have generational PTSD, and a lot of them are unhinged. I just am not as unhinged. I think I control mine or hide mine better. But I'm also the first generation with a letter. I'm a Black Gen-Xer. It means a lot differently, and it hits a lot differently. Black Gen-Xers, we work hard as shit. We've seen a whole bunch of shit, and we've been through some shit. And frankly, apparently we don't give a shit. We do whatever we can to protect our own and ourselves and our peace. And a lot of us are armed, so don't fuck with me. But at the same time, we also know what time it is. You're not going to talk us to death, and you're not going to continue to play in our face. That's what a lot of these MAGA maggots don't understand. Y'all will not continue to play in people's face because although we tried to warn y'all. Y'all had affirmative action, you had DEI, and you made all those things bad words. And you turned it against it, but you didn't realize when you flipped it, trying to keep me and the people that look like me down, didn't affect just me. It affected everybody that don't look like me. And they are and can be and have proven to be as unhinged as anybody. They look more like the Luigis and the Karens of the world because they will flip it on you and they will blow your shit up. Keep playing in these people's face. Watch your back. And all these people, the women, the MAGA women and the black maggots, y'all keep it up. None of this shit is going to protect y'all. And the people that are unhinged are coming back in force. I keep asking myself, and people wonder why you don't go outside and I have a super caller ID. It's because, and I also turn off comments. I have to. Because people will dox you and they are unhinged. Me, I'm just going to troll you a little bit and then keep myself to myself. These fools are basically marching and looking but side to side. You think they're marching with you, and they're not. These are the ones, the really unhinged people that truly feel that they have no recourse and have nothing to lose. Those from every corner are who you're going to have to control, and you're not going to be able to. So I hope the worst thing that y'all are going to be played and be put on red while they play Obama remixes to Milli and his speeches. Is that the worst y'all going to see? Because y'all going to see and try to understand why people are mad, why you doing all this fuck shit and playing in people's face. So stop it. Or we're going to continue to troll you. And we're going to play Obama remixed Milli because I like it. It's a bop. Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Where's to know and where's to grow a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. So I get to continue with Matriarch by Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mom and them, who is more than just fabulous. And she had and still does have an entire life, more so than the mother of probably two of the most talented women on the face of the planet. And I think I'm going to have to start other reads while I get them, because this book goes on for over 400 pages and it's just layer upon layer of a life well led. In this part, she basically talks about her time with Matthew Knowles, how he was a great father, but he was a horrible husband. He was one of the first black executive due to his sales at Xerox, when it was a really big, just a company made with copiers before they moved on to other reproduction and other things before they transitioned. And the book, I wanted to make this point too. I'm actually listening to the book on Audible, and it's actually read by Miss Tina. So the way I wonder if she has the feeling of, wait a minute, that sounds crazy. And she's reading it in such she has a really Louisiana, sans Houston, black woman Southern accent. But her inflections are right on point. But I wonder if she, in her head, she had the point where she had to say, woo, that was fucked up. Yeah. And it's her life, but how she talks about it in such matter-of-fact tones, how her mother basically died. She talks about her miscarriage before she gave birth to Beyonce. And don't make no mistake, there's a 5-year difference between Beyonce and Solange. How she came up with Beyonce's name because she felt that she was the last of her father's. Make no mistake, there are probably a lot of Beyoncés in Louisiana, still working in the salt mines or whatever, but it was the last one of her father, and then to honor him, and how he wasn't, he thought that was crazy, and how he didn't really, in his state, he hadn't even met, I think he passed away before, he may have passed away before Beyonce. No, I think she knew him. She was little when he passed away, but I know she did not know her grandmother or meet Tina Knowles, Tina, her namesake, but how she relates to labor. She wasn't in labor all that long, how big Beyonce was, and she was like a weirdo child. She wasn't really all that into school, but she was very intuitive, kind of introverted, and she would come down with jazz, and she could sing. And how Solange, who they picked her name out of a French book, and the connection to her Creole past. She talks about all of this in such terms, how Solange was also 10 pounds and came out talking trash, literally. How she raised, and expectations were different for both of them, and how she was a spectacular mother, not only to her kids, but also she could love and mother other people's kids. And she saw it as a shared love, and it wasn't something to be lorded over them. The story itself is just, to me, is just one of amazement and just absolutely crazy to me. How Matthew Knowles cheated on her from the beginning. How she opens up a salon during her pregnancy with Solange. How there was more infidelity, and how she actually left him after he went away to some convention in Atlanta, of all places, and she knew it was probably there to meet some woman. She was aware of the woman, or the woman made herself known. I just felt that I got this sneaking suspicion that she wrote this with a ghostwriter. However, you could still feel the authenticity of it being read in her own voice, but a lot of this was her own words. And this ghostwriter, who also is just a magician, basically took the ebonicness out of it, but left enough in to still give it an air of authenticity that I can appreciate. This is just overall one of the probably the most well-written book. It's not like Jada Pinkett's book where she would go off into some woo-woo craziness and she was just trying to sound too smart. Miss Tina didn't have to do that. She basically used her own experiences, didn't have to explain it, but it is understandable, and it didn't just go off the rails. At least this point, I've only started the second part of the book, but I can appreciate her authenticity of a life well lived, and there's no woo-woo goofiness in it, where it does not really go off the rails. At this point, I'm just starting the second half of the book, and I can only look forward to her experiences, because right now, Beyonce and Solange Beyonce just went to school. She's just 5, and Solange was just born, and I haven't gotten to the part where she relates her experiences while she runs her own salon in Houston. So here we go. We're a messy bunch, the shady bunch, the shady bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the shady bunch. My spell check autocorrect is not right. How I put in, typing in week 5 of the Diddy trial, and it autocorrected Diddy to Sissy. Girl, that's just so mean. And I think every LGBTQIA plus person would be offended with being compared to that depraved human being. We're going from depravity in the White House to depravity in that child. Each testimony is just as depraved as the previous. We got Mia co-signing the same thing as a Jane Doe. This fool is hanging people over the side of balconies like Nino Brown in New Jack City. We got people also testifying they participated because even though they literally were the side piece, they were getting UTIs and other skin infections by participating in the freak-offs. You got famed defense attorneys trying to cast dispersion in the testimony and defend their client when they're talking about this dude allowed you to some choice of having sex with sex workers and taking drugs and having your choice and gaslighting you, that was not as indefensible as the coercion and the force that was used with Cassie, even though they're basically the same. Both were coercion, both were depraved, and yes, you need to go to jail for it. Not only are you going to came up off a 30 mil large in cash, you also are going to have to go to jail minimum of 20 to 30 years. And why haven't you been pardoned at any point of this trial? You absolutely, it can be stopped. However, the implications of such, because there is a good chance that you actually went to the after white parties. I'm talking about the White House low-hanging genitalia now. You probably also participated in these parties back in the day, because we got the pictures, the before pictures. Now, what about the after pictures? And I don't know if Carisha got off as scot-free as these other women. I'm not sure if she was the side piece, or because he had the side pieces, he was a billionaire at the time, it was easier just let Carisha go because, number one, he was older, and number two, she was the main chick. Kim Porter had already passed away. Although she was still damaged, Cassie had remarried and had truly started a real family, and she was pregnant again. So who was Carisha in the grand mix of things? Did she become the main chick? Now that the two main people were out of his clutches and all of these other assistants and girlfriends, they were just side dishes. Do you see the levels and the immense depravity that is going on and that's being revealed, and why no one in the entertainment industry nor the White House want to even be associated with this? Because I think there is the receipts to back up their participation in all of this. 3 decades of depravity. As I said, what Puff was doing and have been doing was the worst kept secret in hip hop. Now we're seeing it play out post-mortem, literally. And it puts the people inside of the industry on notice. Y'all all knew this was happening. Everybody was talking about it to a certain extent, but no one did anything about it until one lowly little skinny girl came up and said, enough is enough. He's going to have to pay for it. And that is when the state got involved. Girl, looky here. I think there are more Cassies and Jane and Mia Does out there, and you can't tell me any different. But I'm also grateful to ABC News, after the recaps, because it keeps how much I can absolutely stand and I'm not having to be continually bombarded with the nitty-gritty details. I'm okay with them just giving me a summary. I don't need to know the disgusting details of all of it, but I'm still fascinated about it. How do you defend someone that has done so many reprehensive and indefensible things? It blows my mind. So I have made it known many times that while I was in 97, 2000. While I was in residency in Dallas, I took a lot of things seriously, and I believe to this day, I reestablished my personal relationship and walk with God. Not too long after I came to Dallas, I became a Dallas Cowboys super fan. And I joined the church of most Dallas Cowboy players. And they needed a lot of saving then, child. That's back in the day when both the coach, the owner, Jerry Jones, younger Jerry Jones, as well as his players were known as the thugs of the NFL. It was not nothing for one of them to crash out literally on 183, because that was at the time when the old Texas Stadium was in Irving. And they would get arrested for stupid shit. Michael Irving, Deion Sanders, all of the greats were members of the Potter's House. They had to pray for redemption. And I loved it. But I was not aware, and this is just me, because although the Potter's House was the first church to basically have service online even pre-pandemic, just like most things, I have not really been following the Potter's House. My own church, where I paid tithes for years, hadn't been following them a lot closer, just like a lot of things in pop culture. I was not aware. I had been aware of, and some of the things is because it's hard being associated with people that support the ops. I've never come to terms with, because he doesn't have to explain his beliefs and why you're going to support the chumps of it all and every MAGA maggot. I do know that a lot of the political candidates come to only the churches during elections, but that just seemed to be contrary to what we behold as Black Christians. Everything that MAGA stands for is contrary to Christianity and just for humanity. Just saying. And that's just how I feel. Check the records. All of us got the receipts, because it's playing out real time. Even on Fox and other conservative news channels. So, and I only know about this is because I was not aware that several things. There was a conference in Charlotte this past week, and Cheryl Brady, and I always thought that it was weird that, and this is just me personally, Cheryl Brady and her husband were bishop. They had a church in North Carolina. Probably now over a decade ago, they came to our church and established the Potter's House, North Dallas. And I've always thought it was weird. Her white husband kept his title as bishop in spite of them being underneath Bishop Jakes. I thought that was interesting. I also thought it was interesting that have always thought that Cheryl Brady was the stronger leader and the better preacher, because I am from the moniker, I don't need a whole bunch of hooping and hollering. You don't have to pass out and get slayed in the spirit for me to be able to enjoy your ministry and enjoy your word. Just saying. So when I heard that, number one, that the convention was truly non-denominational, they were headlining it, and one of their ministers was there, and they also, since the Potter's House had changed leadership because Bishop Jakes had stepped down and had appointed his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, as now and her husband, Tory Roberts, as senior pastors and now leaders of the Potter's House. I was like, huh. So you mean a church that you were given through the umbrella of the Potter's House, y'all now are no longer affiliated with the Potter's House, because this young woman and her husband are now the senior pastors. That, to me, is fascinating. And number one, the other thing is, I had to start remembering what I had heard all these years with Sarah Jakes, and I apologize. I'm gonna have to change. Man, no, I'm not, because this almost reads like a reality show. Anyways, Sarah Jakes had her first child, Malachi, when she was only 14 years old. She was married to her first husband for 4 years, a former NFL star and there were allegations of abuse and probably infidelity on his part. Her ability to lead and where she has come and her ministry has been so successful and just phenomenal. So to me, and Bishop Jakes, there is T.D. Jakes Jr., and there are 2 other sons of his and Sarita Jakes' brood, that it trips me out that the oldest daughter would actually be the now senior pastor. But she's gone through something, lived a very long, interesting life, and it would make sense for her to actually, her and her husband, it would definitely make sense for them, and they have the stamina and the age, they're young, to actually be now the senior pastors of the Potter's House. But with given everything that actually has gone on, why did the Bradys leave? And was there something bigger and a falling out? And in this our age of expansion, why would they leave? Has there always been a simmering undertone or beef with them? Because again, even though bishop basically just means teacher, why would you come to an international ministry like the Potter's House and keep that moniker? Cheryl Brady was fine with it with pastor, but I do think there may have been some type of underlying beef, because why weren't they appointed? The senior pastors, they had been there for over a decade when they got there from North Carolina. And then I start thinking, why did the Bradys leave North Carolina? I never really understood that. Came and were given a new home and left North Carolina, pulled up stakes, brought part of their congregation to Texas, North Texas, from that matter. And now, since T.D. Jakes has stepped down, he appointed his younger daughter, and her husband as senior pastors. Now y'all leave? Does it make sense? Cheryl Brady's not that young. And from what I understand, your health is not all that good, Bishop Brady. You're waiting on a kidney transplant. You are basically preaching from a wheelchair. Why would you think you need to be? And T.D. Jakes literally just had a heart attack in the pulpit. Why would he absolutely would appoint y'all to senior pastors over this flock? Something is up. Something in the buttermilk ain't fresh, in the words of Phaedra Parks. I'm going to need to do some more digging, because I think there's something more to that story. You were given a place and a church after you left North Carolina. And now, because the daughter and the son-in-law were appointed, you basically are going to drop the Potter's House where you got your beginning. Yeah, couple of things. Number one, I got to figure out why you left North Carolina. And then number two, I got to also figure out and also watch how long those churches are going to actually stay before Either they come back under the Potter's House fold or somebody else takes over those churches. The verdict is still out. But let me do some more digging, y'all. Recording on a Sunday, and y'all be just interneting. Look, I think the comparison to the drama and saga that's going on with the transition of the Potter's House, North Dallas, to the river or the bridge or wherever. Somebody said this is another episode of GreenLeaf. You ain't never lied. And I absolutely think that's funny. But then again, I'm not a person that doesn't think that when you criticize or drag the leaders of faith, that it's some type of indictment of my walk and my beliefs, because it's not. It really isn't. I know that your cleric's collar does not protect you from abuse or from the dragon, because if you do some fuck shit, you're going to get called out on it. And in this age of social media, everybody has an opinion. They're like assholes. Some of them and most of them are going to stink. But if you don't want to get called out on your fuckery, stop doing fuck shit. Marvin Saps and the other people, leaders of faith. Personally, I have had to come to Jesus, literally come to Jesus moment between separating that my walk or a person's walk or belief or faith from the people, the leaders of their church. Case for an example, I personally think my cousins are trash, literally are trash. It has nothing to do with anybody that still decides to go to that particular church or an indictment of the Church of God in Christ. But as a whole, per capita, it just seems that denomination has its fair share of abusers, narcissists, and trash human beings. Just saying. Thankfully, a lot of them are dying out, but a lot of them are being put on blast and they're having to fizzle out. So with that said, my experience with my own family has taught me that I know you can be too close to it. But I was wondering why my sister, after how poorly our family was treated in the murder of my father, how can you still go to a church that always seemed to dish you and they were not there for his death, funeral, as well as during your own illness? Again, because even though they are leaders and they always treat you as a bald-headed stepchild, you still hold true and you still have faith and you're still going to support them because your soul is being fed and you feel from a spiritual standpoint. That's what you listen to the word, but you don't really, or you're not all that into the deeds of the people that are supposedly the leaders, because they can be trash, but that has nothing, because they're still giving you the good word. And you don't have to work all that hard for it. They give it to you in the form that you can, as digestible and that you crave. If you feel that you're being fed, no problem. It's just that, and people also said, like you hear and read all this stuff about the Potter's House and what the transition that's going on now. Yes, it's not an indictment with my walk or my faith or who I choose to support. I've gained so much and my spiritual life was so enriched by the words, but I didn't know those people. I don't think if I truly knew what was really going on, I volunteered at the Potter's House when we were only 20,000 people then. I only shook hands with Bishop and Sarita Jakes one time. I recall seeing T.D. Jakes Jr. like one time. I don't recall the girls at all because that was not why I attended the Potter's house. It's not why I flew back for Easter service. It's not why I used to tune in online. It was none of that. Because my walk was not, at the time, was not predicated on me knowing them. If I knew them as I know my family members and some of the fuckery that they've done, no, I don't think I would have actually lasted as long because I'm petty and I'm not as evolved, as I am now. And that's why I can sit back. And if I do find out some stuff beyond gossip online, it's still not going to do or an indictment of my own walk in faith. It's indictment because men are fallible. You would want your leaders, your religious leaders, to be better than you and are held to a different standard. But just because you find out some issues with them and you criticize them, it doesn't take away from your own faith and what the premises of the church are. They're going to need to change. If you don't want to be known as doing fuck shit, then don't do fuck shit. Don't hold people captive in that church until they give you a certain amount of money, Marvin Sapp. Don't just be out of town when you're supposed to be doing somebody else's funeral. And no other family member or church member, no other church member actually show up to that service. Girl, bye. I know there's a difference. I know everybody's walk is not the same. But I do know my faith is not predicated on man because man is always going to let you down. But at least I do believe God can speak directly to me through his word. And sometimes, even though they are useless, trash human beings, that some people can give you a word. And that's where I am now. So even though this Potter's House saga, it reads and seems like a version of a reality GreenLeaf's, I can take it all in stride, but it does not take away my own belief and my own walk. Again, my faith is not predicated on the trashness or lack thereof of the so-called leaders. It's through the word that I study on my own and I live in my heart. And if some people actually would take that, I don't think they would stay in a cult-like stance or they would stay or outwhelm their welcome in a lot of these churches, or they'll continue to be blessed and keep it pushing. And also realize when they also need to change too. Because some people get caught up in the gleam. They know that their leaders of their church are trash human beings. They can't make right decisions or decisions that would be considered to be normal. And then they wonder why people don't give trust to them, or like they seem, I just trying to figure out why other people do what they do and believe. That's not what my job is. It's way above my pay grade. And again, I don't get paid for it. You ain't getting no free therapy from me. Y'all gonna have to basically pay somebody from Talkspace for what the type of work that you actually need. But you just got to do the work. Again, faith and beliefs and work is not predicated upon who the leaders are. Most people won't go to church if they actually look to the leaders to be truly above them when they got some fuckery going on. But also not accepting the fuckery too and pointing it out and dragging it until they change it is not a sin. And you also need to basically get your mind right and fix your mouth to be able to know they wouldn't do those things if they were truly delivered. And people pointing that out is not death to them. You only catch spiritual strays if they're going through some mess and you still support them knowing that they doing their mess, yeah, that's all on you. You need to work that out. However, you can't expect to do some of this shady mess and get away with it. Yeah, you're going to pick up the same drama that they basically saying for you. It's not the same as somebody that knows that they're doing the fuckery and they point it out. They probably are not going to be punished. But those that do the fuckery and support them that do while they're doing it and doing some of the same shady mess, that's when your payment or your punishment is 10 times worse. Those are the words of Petty Betty over here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You don't have to believe it, but just look in your life and you realize that I go to church, I pay my tithes, I do X, Y, and Z, knowing that the person that's doing tell you pay the tithes, and you are giving your last when they live in a lavish life. Girl, bye. Yeah, that's how that works, just so you know. So, yes, am I going to continue to dig deeper and go down rabbit holes looking for the next episode of the reality show, GreenLeaf Potter's House version? Yes, I am. Does that mean that I'm going to get punished for actually making to see if it's true, if that is true? Don't worry about it. It's not your walk, ain't your talk. I will be punished if it's an offense that's punishable. But again, don't do it if you don't want to get caught. How about that? And you don't want me to talk about it. How about them apples? Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. If you are petty, you don't have to get petty. Hallelujah, hallelujah. If you are petty, you don't have to get petty. So I'm really glad that I did watch this week's episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta before I actually produced this episode of Tim Fro's reading. I'm also going to I'm making a conscious decision to go down to maybe 3 episodes a month. And then for the last week, I plan on reposting it, a more popular episode. I am also rearranging, and again, I'm rearranging the order of the shows because this past week in the Real Housewives realm, it was a lot of craziness, from the reunion being taped, the seating order, and then the $20 million case against Bravo alleging hostile work environment, and then posting of pictures that are not even of that old overworked Britt Edie. But this episode really almost took me out. This was a reminder of the opulence, the richness, and the wealth, and the friendship that define this genre of reality TV. How great the OGs, and I just clocked that. All of the OGs were on. And because Shamia is an OG friend of, but y'all, I just realized it was Shamia, Portia, Cynthia, and Phaedra, all on Under the Waterfall, just living their best life. Everybody was up there except for Drew. She was on the other side. And it's finding, if anybody is having their issue, it seems to be Drew. She seems to be, she's found her way to fit in. She's back on the music, but she did look like Pebbles and Bam Bam in that outfit. I don't know if her stylist has been styling her for the entire season actually gave her a lookbook or she's gone off script. So I love Kelly and her. She's like a low-key chef, you know what I mean? And these brothers in Grenada are fine. I like this chef. I like this house. And I could see Kelly and all those kids. Maybe she does need a breast reduction, but I could see Kelly and all those kids with the prime minister of Grenada, because he evidently is single, or hooking up with one of these chefs. You do you, boo-boo. You do you, and just be happy. But the complexity of relationships and female relationships in reality TV was evident. Watching Portia and Shamia just vibe on the bus, and how she's particularly comforted her. And then Kelly didn't even look mad. She just was there and wrapped her arms around her just like everybody else. And it was so genuine and so poignant. And also of motherhood. I can't imagine having such a sweet special needs child going through something. You can't even trust the help to take care of your kid. But even in spite of Gerald, Shamia Morton's husband, being a prince and absolutely supportive, it's still... And also Shamia saying that her body is not two-piece, and her ass is acid. But at the same time, she's just... The complexities of being on this show and being away while your child may be in crisis, but I can't imagine her doing it alone. And because she's not. She has Gerald. She has the family. He let her know the tea. He let her know he got it. But he's also, I'm probably sure, relieved that she's going to be able to come home as soon as possible. What I did not understand is Britt Edie's reaction. If she had just said, I'm so sorry, I'm here for you, the stupid stuff that we said before, we just going to squash, because now it's all about you and being strong for your daughter. No, she had to go left. And it's obvious that she's always been the pretty girl and never been required to have more substance. So she takes that as bullying or criticism. And in some respects, it is shade. In some respects, it is criticism. But at the same time, she has to learn how to navigate around beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, dynamic women that truly are more than she is. And this is one place where Phaedra wasn't coming at her. She was basically just schooling her like she's a teenager, because it's obvious her emotional intelligence is very low. And one of the OGs took it upon herself to speak to her. And she did not feel... I don't think she didn't try to overtalk them, but basically Phaedra took her and gathered her all the way together. And I really, really like that. I really like that she needs to pay attention, to stay on task, and not bring this extraneous stuff that doesn't make any sense. She's always trying to have a moment when she just can't be herself. And if she just would bring what is going on with her and being truthful in that, and then being quiet. Why can't she be supportive? So it may go to that some of these new housewives may have to come in as friends of, until they basically get indoctrinated and learn how to be and how you can be yourself and show up. If she would just to figure out how to show up for herself and her real friends, she would have had a very much different experience. Because that is so hilarious. What's her name? Farrell. Kelly Farrell is acting Farrell, but she has she's learning from a really good friend of now housewife that was too long becoming a housewife. Oh my God, she's shady as hell, but that was funny. Funny. And I need to see more of this. And I'm glad we're seeing how well and fun and beautiful Grenada is and how great the women are interacting with each other. I think this last episode, which may be the season finale, is going to show how far left this went. Because after they came back from Grenada, as I said at the beginning of the year, or I will say at the beginning of the year, there was a bunch of mess that actually happened. And Kelly Farrell is no longer talking to Britt. And then Shamia Morton ain't checking for her either. And it went it's deeper and more than that, because now Homegirl's off the show and she's suing Bravo. I don't know after what, because it looks like to me she never got fit in. She's a trash human being that is not a girl's girl. She just was a pretty woman before she got all that plastic surgery, and she never learned how to really interact and sustain relationships. And that can be your detriment, especially on this platform and any reality TV platform. If she wanted to do all this to have some reality show, she's actually shot herself in the foot. Because nobody ain't checking for her after the shenanigans she pulled this week and what we've seen on the show. So, sorry, Britt. Your danger is true. And now you off the show. See ya. So, I recorded the other portion without saying this, that Britt Eady basically is writing her own exit from the show in a negative way. And the little brown riding hood is not giving, it's giving stupid. Also, I forgot they had given Angela a cake, and she was just actually so happy. That cake looked hella good. Also, the Prime Minister of Grenada, fine. Really fine. And and Angela, it looks stunning in that red dress. And again, Drusilla, Trunocchio, you didn't have a lookbook from your glam team? You didn't bring glam with you? Did you start wearing go naked hair again in solidarity with Portia because your wigs are looking tired again? But Angela and Cynthia and Portia, all of y'all, they look like they just stepped out the glam squad. And they would actually seem like they were on time. I can see Kelly with the Prime Minister. It was wonderful. She's the only one. That would be like another episode. They're going to have to come back to Grenada, probably without cameras, and just see how that goes. Even, why does Phaedra keep calling Kelly a garden gnome? But she is wearing that flower dress. I don't know where she be buying her clothes, but she is giving awesome. But again, rewatching this last segment of the show, even with Britt and her weird behavior, it's still taking me out again. I know I'm going to have to watch this episode again. To me, this is one of my favorite episodes of the entire season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. You can have drama if as long as it's not too much. You don't have to go overboard. Kenya, but she's apologized for it, and I could have saw her tearing up that waterfall because Miss USA it would be bodying. Oh my God, it would have been so beautiful. It really would have been very beautiful. But we got what we got, and this was absolutely still very beautiful. There has been so much chatter online about Real Housewives of Atlanta and just the Real Housewives series this past week. One of the latest things is Monique Samuels, Real Housewives of Potomac, is coming back. Her divorce from it was when they were the Deadskins, but her husband, former University of Alabama player, defensive, I don't know if he was a lineman or what his position was with the Deadskins, but their divorce is final. Although she left in the hail of glory and dragon of Candians, Monique Samuels is coming back. I want to see who she is now. I don't know if she's a more therapy worked version or is she still on some crazy-ish, but who knows. Having kids that are now preteens and going through a divorce, it'll change anybody's mind. So I'm wondering how she's going to be in the group now that Robin is gone. How Giselle, is she going to align herself with her against Ashley, who she's in business with? Because evidently Ashley and Monique Samuels are still friends off camera and have been since she left season 5. I don't know. Or maybe Giselle's going to pipe down because I think we didn't know all of that, the dirt that she actually had in that little binder when she brought that to the reunion. I'm just glad I'm going to see somebody that's all about the real. I hope she's about the real. So, but anyways, that and the trailer from Real Housewives of OC dropped. It wasn't all that. What's her name? She looked like she's overdone and overworked. She's not as young as she formerly was when she was the side piece of the old dude that died. So, I don't know. I think having a kid and too much Botox has not did Gretchen any good. But it'll be interesting to see how Tamra Judge, older and therapy and slightly inebriated on weed, Tamra Judge actually reacts to her. And I didn't really want to start the top of the show because this flame out over Britt Eady is really annoying me. Ever since the new series of Real Housewives has premiered, I've paid a lot of attention, or I've been really invested in watching the last several episodes. And I've rewatched the last several episodes of season 16 because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, and I really didn't. I really liked how both Kelly Farrell and Shamia Morton presented their real lives. And Shamia is just a beautiful, talented woman. And she does have that life that any of the housewives would be jealous of. Cute little kids. And I was wondering, because I started watching the after show, and I was wondering why they had the people paired up like they did. And then I remember one of the previous episodes with Shamia and Kelly Farrell, how she said something like, "Hey, best friend," and they had pop bottles and everything. what this week is going to give me, because evidently Real Housewives of Atlanta is not coming back until next week. Shamia and Kelly Farrell are friends off the show. And they genuinely seem like they're having a really close friendship. Two things. It does look genuine, and they look like they're having a lot of fun. Shamia's kitchen is just as fabulous as the rest of her house, but also the rest of her house is becoming even more fabulous because she also invited us in as she's putting up Versace wallpaper. Girl, y'all balling like that? Yes, evidently Shamia is. And I kept hearing with the Brit Edie of it all because Kelly Ferris was riding for Crook. I'm sorry, Brit Edie. since episode 1. And she's been lying since then. The latest with this girl is not only did we see all of the trailers drop, also Real Housewives of Miami's coming back. I'm not sure. You talk about women with too much plastic surgery. Yeah, Miami's like that. But I hope it's offset by us going to some of the best places in the world. And I need to see more of the Kiki Barth of it all, the black supermodel from Haiti. That's who I'm going to need to see more of because she's naturally beautiful. Anyways, but they also dropped the Real Housewives of Atlanta cast photo and seating chart, mostly the seating chart for the reunion, which they taped this past week. Noticeably, there was no Brit Edie. Also, it came out online, and Kenya Moore, the Mormon, apologized. And first, she basically said that she was not invited. And she still goes on to apologize not only to Brit Edie, but to her castmates and the fans, because her behavior was reprehensible. And she kept it cute. She said, "I'll see y'all next season, though, but I will not be in attendance to this year's season 16 reunion." And it made me sad because that would have truly broke the internet if they had her and Brit Edie had a one-on-one. But then if you look at the seating chart, it really didn't make too much sense because Portia Williams is seated to Andy's right, and it kind of made sense because she was the most real. Shamia Morton was seated to the left, and you could think about damn time, but I think we probably got maybe 3 or 4 episodes left because they are down in the Caribbean. They had already taped, and those episodes are getting ready to be re-released over the next several weeks. I think they're in Grenada. And they basically admitted to they had a time, but something else popped off. And I wasn't aware of this until the Binge-Worthy and the Campfires of it all, who are other podcasters, basically and DJ Richie Sky kept it real. And then there was an emergency podcast by Carlos King who make me laugh so hard. Jordan, what's her name? Lives in Dallas on season 7 of the podcast. Claudia Jordan and Dustin. That Monday Night Live, or actually this was an extra episode like on Wednesday or Thursday because that's when they dropped the picture. And that's when Brit Edie came up talking about she will not be in attendance. It's her choice. And by the way, y'all, that picture wasn't even of me. 2 things. And then also she drops a tidbit. She's suing Bravo for $20 million. Okay, let's back this shit up. Number one, she's suing her for defamation and hostile work environment. So you mean to tell me you threatened Kenya with a gun and you weren't about that life and you didn't capitalize on it and you basically went from zero to mean at every opportunity that you got. You mean to tell me you and the picture that got Kenya removed and they stopped filming with her, that wasn't even you, girl? So you played in our face again for an entire season. You mean to tell me y'all trying to blame that on editing again? Don't do trash fuckery if you don't want it to get taped. So it's not editing. If you actually did that shit, they're not going to be able to splash or splice together different instances if you don't do the fuck shit. So don't do the fuck shit. Don't invite people to a venue if you can't pay. Don't invite people to a venue if you can't afford to feed them. How about you don't do those things? How about she's known for a while that there was no way that she was not cast appropriately, that you wanted to lean into getting one of the most, for better or for worse, stars of the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise removed, but you never could capitalize or figure out how not to be just a mean girl. Your nose job was overdone. You had too much Botox and fillers. And you had a BBL that is starting to go south, and you could never figure out how to prove that you really were that girl or prove that you were going through a rebuilding process. You never could figure out how to Angela Oakley yourself out of your crap situation. And then you have all these people flaming out on your behalf, like Dustin from the Binge-Worthy podcast, who basically going off about how they bullied this girl the whole season. Really? Or was she the bully? Because Shamia Morton clocked that tea because she don't know, and her mouth is reckless, and she talked about that girl's special needs child, probably in some whacked-ass way from the trip in Grenada. Because both her and Kelly Ferris, meaning Shamia and Kelly, were not checking for her. But that is when they came back and they had Rap filming, and she spoke on it twice now. Originally back in February and March, and then she went on the Breakfast Club talking about Brit, how she don't know about how she didn't feed people. People were hungry. She don't know how to. It's obvious that if you don't have it like the Shamias of the world, don't pretend. Just show other people your glow up as you're trying to learn. Why, if you really are a super fan, why didn't you watch the season 2 and 3 with Nene Leakes, as Nene had gotten cast and became out the breakout star for the show? Her and Greg weren't balling like that in the beginning. And it wasn't until Nene Leakes blew up that they could really afford that stuff, because then Greg's career and finances started looking a little funny. So why didn't, and the Kims of it all, if she rolled on and was somebody like Big Papa was trying to buy a Cadillac Escalade for her, she was going to drive off the lot. She wasn't just going to rev up the engine and not leave with that car. Why are you going to show us? Why are you not going to show us y'all closing the deal off of your opulence? Why are now you getting sued by an event planner and the country club where obviously you don't belong to. How about that? How about you don't act trashy? How about them apples? It is obviously she's not quick. She's a lightweight. But it has been very entertaining to watch the flame out on her behalf, because as people are still getting update, their faces are cracked because they're finally understanding what she's saying and what we're being presented. The math ain't mathing. Something ain't fresh in the buttermilk, according to Phaedra Parks. But I truly believe that their trip in Grenada was revealing. And I have a feeling she said and did some fuckery during and after that trip that basically cemented the reason why she is not going to be able and was never able to come back. It also, the next thing I'm going to say, is this also a setup? I looked up the current producer of the show, and he has produced other Black cast. So I was also very concerned. He looks like he is LGBTQ plus. He has the experience, but the last several seasons have been a miss for me anyways. And is there any room for Kingdom Reign and Carlos King coming back and basically getting the girls together? Is there any room for Nene Leakes running a new housewife or a potential housewife boot camp? Because what the last few years of castings have been a miss. But if they were prepared better, they did shoots with the actual castmates a little bit more, and then being supported in such a way that they wouldn't flame out after one season. If they actually had the support of the Nene Leakes, the Sheree Whitfields, the fashion from the archive, the athletic training from the Sonya Ross of it all, and learning how to be friends like the Cynthia Bailey School of Model and just being a human, I would ride for that. That's a whole other season on its own. Housewives and potential housewives 911. Housewives 911 boot camp. Because this mixture of for an ensemble cast, it has been a miss since season 14. They got to do something, or they're going to basically completely ruin a whole entire franchise. Is there a world where he comes back as the executive or just as the one of the main producers, or Kingdom Reigns takes over as the production company of this particular franchise? Because they're running into the ground. They're declassing the show, in the words of Nene Leakes. And Candy Burris now being a talent developer. I honestly believe Shamia Morton is very talented too, as she's been singing and performing just like Drew Sidora, who always is on stage, and she has not found a microphone that she wants to walk past. But I'm just kind of chilling with the Shamia of it all because I really like her. And no shade from Drew and taking away, she's been in the game since, which apropos, pun not intended, since she was 8 years old. But I still don't think she has an interesting relationship with the truth, and it's always like she's being phony and acting. So I don't know what to believe with that girl. But then it's not for me to believe. I can only make judgments on what I actually have seen. But I've seen basically the same thing from the Breakfast Club to the interview with Carlos King. I don't think she was fully being transparent and truthful with him. I don't know. But at least I get a feeling of the genuineness and just really liking her in the Shamia of it all. So I'm waiting to see these last several episodes and what finally made Britt Edie think that they needed to come off of $20 million because she was so mistreated when they just revealed to the rest of us how she was trash. And she just couldn't, and she flamed out too soon because she didn't know how to handle it. So I don't know. She took the wrong road in Atlanta. You can fake it till you make it, but you can't do it on a platform like one of the Real Housewives if you want to do some fakery, because the internet be internet, and all of us are internet sleuths. All of us gonna tell on you. So you need to get yourself together, girl. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What, y'all? What?